Georgia Congressman Austin Scott, a member of the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, what's your reaction to Madison's report and this pause in funding to UNRWA?
It absolutely needs to be paused, and I'll take you back a little bit, Maria, and people forget about this, but Donald Trump stopped the funding of this organization because of the indoctrination that was going on in the classrooms. And so the scariest part of this thing is actually where Hamas had placed their members, and that is in the classroom where they're indoctrinating young people to hate Israel and anybody of a different faith than they have. So I'm in favor of pausing the funding. We can have the debate over whether or not it should be permanently stopped. I'm open to that debate. Have not made a decision on that yet. I think we're less than 12 months from a new administration. And certainly if they're going to receive any U.S. taxpayer dollars at all, then the leadership of that organization is going to have to change their attitude and their approach. I'm sympathetic to the humanitarian aspect of what's happening in that part of the world. There are a lot of humanitarian crises going on right now, but this organization has a history of this, and they haven't changed even when they've been warned. And again, Donald Trump, he stopped the funding for this organization. Joe Biden put it back in without a discussion with Congress. And certainly it's not just the U.S. right now stopping the funding because of the leadership and their approach to Hamas. It's other nations as well.
Well, it's interesting that President Trump had paused the funding and then Joe Biden comes in and he reverses it. That's what he did with all of Trump's border policies, as well as foreign affairs policies as well, for the most part. Why would the president reinstate the funding there? And the same thing he did with the Houthis, right? The President Trump had put them on a terrorist watch list and Biden took them off. Didn't want to call them terrorists.
Well, pretty much anything President Trump did, as soon as President Biden went in office, he reversed it. The Remain in Mexico, all President Biden has to do right now on the border is put Remain in Mexico back in place, and he refuses to do it because it was a Trump policy.
Right, because it's a Trump policy.
Because it was a Trump policy. I mean, they simply refused to admit that Donald Trump was right on a lot of the issues that he made decisions on. And so he was right on pausing this funding. He was right on Remain in Mexico. And as soon as Joe Biden came in, if Donald Trump had done it, the Biden administration reversed it. And so that is what this president has done. And unfortunately, America is paying a price for it. Candidly, the whole world is paying a price for Joe Biden reversing the Trump policies.
Yeah, and of course, we are mourning the loss of 3 fallen heroes because of this administration's dancing with Iran, trying to get an Iran deal done. And yet, right under our noses, they are backing these dangerous groups. President Biden now commenting on how the United States is going to respond to the attacks in the Middle East and whether Iran is responsible. Watch this.
Reality probably won't set in until we actually travel to go receive her remains. That's the time that I'm really not looking forward to. I'm dreading it, actually.
She was goal-oriented, and she loved the service. She loved serving our country.
I mean, sir, these are your constituents in Georgia. President Biden calling the parents of those 3 Georgia military service members who were killed in the drone attack. Biden also said he'll be attending the dignified transfer. The parents of Sergeant Kennedy Sanders joined Fox and Friends yesterday. Here's a bit of that. Congressman, what are your thoughts in terms of how this was not intercepted, how we lost 3 heroes in Jordan near the Syrian border, and what the response should be to Iran?
Well, first of all, my heart goes out to those families, and 2 of those soldiers actually served at the reserve unit in my hometown of Tipton, Georgia. So this is very close to home for me. As you know, I'm on the Armed Services Committee, and again, the soldiers coming from your hometown and one of the bases in your home state, it just reiterates how dangerous this mission is. Let's go back a little bit and let's remember these terrorist organizations affiliated with Iran had carried out over 150 strikes, Maria, in the last several months against the U.S. or against friends of the U.S. And what did the Biden administration do? They did absolutely nothing. And so when you sit back and you allow terrorist organizations funded by Iran to continually shoot at your U.S. soldiers, eventually they're going to get lucky and they're going to kill one of our people. The first time any Iranian terrorist organization fired a missile at a U.S. soldier or at one of our bases or at one of our ships, we should have hit them, and we should have hit them hard. And we didn't do it. And they're not going to stop now, because now they've got American soldiers' blood on their hands. And that is what they were going for.
So sad.
The lack of response from this administration is the reason these soldiers are dead.
No, I mean, it's just so sad. Two of those soldiers, not even 25, 24 years old and 23 years old, going into the military, hoping that the United States has their back. I'm just really distraught over our technology not being able to intercept that. But Congressman, I want to get your thoughts on the broader agenda here, because it could not be more starkly different when you look at what President Trump wants to do versus what President Biden is doing, implementing his climate change agenda. You're on the Armed Services Committee. What does that mean, do you think, for our armed services? Are we at a place of readiness in this increasingly dangerous world?
No, we're not at a place of readiness. I mean, the Biden administration is using the military as a social engineering organization instead of training and equipping our military to win the fight. And so, we need a new commander-in-chief, one that understands that our job in the military is not to promote some social agenda. Our job in the military is to defend the United States of America and our allies.
Right.
And so I think we're less than a year from having that. And I think things can move pretty quick back in the right direction with regard to the way our Defense Department operates.
Well, Congressman, thank you so much for being here. Congressman Austin Scott, we want to get to the breaking